Hey, welcome to another OneLife podcast. We're here with our four gentlemen again. Our topic today is personal growth and continuous learning for leaders. I thought we'll start with a cool one first up, which is what leaders do you guys admire? Maybe one each or two each, and a quick snippet of why. You want to start?
Oh, not really
That's a hard one,
on top of my mind. I think Elon Musk, like everyone talks about, he's crazy, right? How do you build from nothing into a $230 billion net worth within such a short amount of time? I know a lot of people don't like him, but there are certain values that he has that other people don't, right? It's just chasing the dream and constantly learning and doing better things and not just settling. Some people will just exit on the first company and then stop, right?
Yeah.
Right, buy a mansion and just stop learning.
He's obsessive, right?
But he's wired differently. He's not like me and you.
He's some sort of machine in him.
Yeah, I try to find out like where did his wealth come from, right? He started a company at 24 with his brother, and called Zip2. It does a bit of online, sort of capitalizing on the .com boom, and he sold it for got my notes here. $340 million at the 1999.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah, but he only had a 7% stake, so he got close to $24 million. What would you do at $24 million?
Yeah.
You would just retire, right? Most people. But he didn't. He kept going, right?
Yeah.
He started another company and then went into PayPal, and he exited that for around a few hundred million or so, 180 million in 2002. Then went to SpaceX, Tesla, and now he's worth $230 billion. So from $23 million exit, 1999, went to 230 billion right now.
So from nothing to 230 billion in 25 years.
You go on about his numbers there, but that doesn't make him a good leader just because he's got money, right?
Correct. Why do you think he's a good leader?
It's more so on the self-development, self-learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you ask him how to build a bloody EV car 10 years ago, you have no clue.
He's learned it somewhere.
But his will to learn something is what drives him success. And I think money is just the outcome.
The outcome. Yeah. I think it's important to note
when you get $23 million at 27 years old, like you've already got all the money you need. So what else do you chase? Is it that learning and self-growth?
In a similar sort of ilk, I think Steve Jobs, for me, he was like a great leader, and he was charismatic in the way that he delivered his products mostly. You see his keynotes and you look at him and you go, look, that's a great leader. But I don't really, myself personally, look up to leaders like that because they seem out of reach to me, So for me, it's probably more people that are close to home. And, I look around this table and I see some great leaders, and we're different in the way that we operate. No, you're welcome. So, you've got your Steve Jobs and your Elon Musk and all of that, but I think you've got to look closer to home. And in our industry as well, there are leaders that James Ashford I follow a lot, so he's a leader and he's a very good communicator. So those are the sort of guys that I look up to, as well as you guys as well.
Yeah, that's interesting because I had a similar thought because I'm not really into famous people or big names. If I had to pick I say famous, if I had to pick someone that I think has got good leadership, that's well known, it's probably only because I've read a book so my daughter reads these Little People, Big Dreams books, and they're all about people like Michelle Obama, Mahatma Gandhi. And to be honest, I'm really learning about these people now because I'm reading those books, which is really good. But I'm similar to you. Like my leadership, where I look at leaders is probably my parents and probably now my in-laws. Like they impactful in my life and how they got from here to here. And their leadership styles are different, all of them. So like I don't know. I kind of look there as opposed to the big names. Obviously mum, dad hustled. My in-laws hustle and do it differently. So I think it's easy to go after the famous person and be like, he's a good leader, but actually they raised us, and it's all about influencing and So my mum and my mother-in-law is very, what's the best way to explain it? She's a very good leader. I am trying to. But she's got it like sorted. Like she's got everyone locked down. The minute she's gone, everyone's just gonna be like, whatever. Like, the leader's gone. And so then everything falls apart. And so that's what I think is quite good leadership. Because everyone follows,
What is it about her that has made her this leader? Sounds like a formidable leader that
she'll hold her line. Like it's fucking my way or the highway. And I think it's good when you have someone, it's good and bad, but everyone seems to follow her.
She's got a strong backbone.
Yeah, and so I was like, no, this is my beliefs, and this is how you have to do it. But the family follow. Like,
It sounds like every family has a woman like that.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it was my nana. You know, and she lived to be 101, right? And she was the matriarch of our family. And she was unassuming, really, but you didn't want to get on the wrong side of her. She was a very strong woman, but quietly spoken. She was a listener. I think that was key as well. She listened a lot, so she absorbed a lot of information, and then she had some things that she just came out with. You go, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, the matriarchs are so impressive in all the families that our grandma was the same. So if we just bring this back to business, if you think about what you talked about was charisma with Steve Jobs and this obsessive desire to keep learning for famous people, I think those are two very impactful traits that you can have as a leader. How do you foster a culture of continuous improvement or continuous learning and personal development in a business? Like, how does someone tomorrow go and build a team and drive this culture into their team?
Yeah. Oh, well, I can start on that. I think it's lucky that one of our values is continuous improvement, right? So we're talking to our team and we're talking amongst ourselves all the time about that continuous improvement piece. And we, as leaders, are living and breathing that continuous improvement, you know? And so I think the rest of the team will sponge off of that. So it has to come from the top as us as leaders. And I think the team, by seeing us doing the doing, will just absorb that and do the same.
Cool. Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about learning, improving. Just keep improving, and then they'll go, they're mucking in. And we keep saying muck in, like we get our hands dirty. But the self-awareness for me is like, it's always reflecting back on what we said and what we did and why we did it is kind of really important. Because, I mean, the difference between leadership and management for me is like, leadership is, you want people to follow you, trust you. Like, I always look back at my old employers, you know, employers, my old bosses, and the reasons why I looked up to them, and I take those things, I take all the good things, and then I go, there's things that I didn't really like, and I dump those things. So I'm like, so that's kind of like the self-awareness and the reflection, and go, but it's like, not that they were doing anything wrong, but everyone's got these different attributes, and I think you gotta like sponge off that, take that, and then I think it's just like they call it, it's pretty simple, it's leading by example, right? You do it and they go, oh fuck, that guy seems to be doing all right, like or like he's got something that I like about what he's saying, so I'm gonna just, you know, and then naturally people just follow.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. Like when I was younger, in my grad days, or even working in retail, you will work with shit bosses, right? People that just lash out on people and people that are not good leaders. But there are certain traits of them that make them where they are. If you just take away the bad part and take the good part and learn from that, you're constantly learning good things.
Yeah,
I love the analogy you use a lot, which is act like a sponge.
Yeah.
You know? Act like a sponge for all the good things. And if there's any bad things, be a rock, you know, let it bounce off you.
That's right.
Don't absorb the bad stuff, you know.
Yeah, because it's very easy to do that too, and just be like, I want to be like that guy. I'm going to be exactly like that guy or that girl, and do exactly.
You got to be careful in who you surround yourself with. Like, you're a sponge, right? And especially at a young age, if you hang out with bad people or bad leaders all the time, you think, you give yourself reasons to be like, oh, maybe that's all right, because 3 of these guys are doing it. So you got to be quite careful in who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, so, and that's why I think that self-awareness is the key, because you got to kind of see you know, if you're not aware, then you're just going to end up being.
You still got to be yourself.
You're a follower, like at the end of the day. Yeah. So like, follow, but you're right, be yourself. Like,
just knowing your shortfalls and your weakness, eh?
It probably comes down to your values as well, right? They got to align.
And it's interesting within BetterCo itself, because, you know, we're 4 leaders within a whole group of people. You know, what is it, 20, 24 now? And I'd like to ask them what they think of our leadership styles. You know, it might be quite telling, but I think because we are quite different, I think that's the way that BetterCo works, because we are quite different people and different leaders. It would be interesting to get some feedback from the team on that.
It's probably one of the reasons why it does work is because you're different. It's like in any marriage or relationship, you know, in business, if it's conflicting, it doesn't work. But if it's not congruent, but if it works harmoniously together, great, you know.
Well, I think you nailed it though. That's part of leadership, right? Like, it's doing the scary things. Like some managers will never ask for feedback because they're just going to, you know.
Well, the ego's too high sometimes.
Sometimes it's negative, right? So then leadership's like, actually, I'm ready to have have it. Just give it to me. Like, tell me what it
Yes.
is, so
Be vulnerable.
I can be self-aware.
That's a
I can
word.
reflect on it, go sort it out. Like, and then
I
it's
think that's where business owners can make terrible mistakes when they're growing. They're continuously looking for someone to look after the people or the work, and then they put in managers, and they advertise the role as a managerial role, and then they bring it into the people and they say, oh, we've got a manager. And these people manage the shit out of everything, right? But management is being a good manager is not about having just good management. It's about being a leader. And I often see good managers are actually not people who manage the shit out of everything, but people who are actually leading by example.
Yes.
Or showing good leadership and being there for their people and whatnot, rather than managing the crap out of everything.
so. Is there still room for managers?
There's still room for managers. What
just
I'm
need
saying
to-
is I think there's a difference these days where leadership is not just for the person at the top.
Yeah.
No, it's everywhere.
Leadership is for everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
And even if you're a manager, you should be thinking, how do I lead
Yeah.
as opposed to manage?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you go, okay, I need an operations manager, operations leader. I still think, like, if the task itself is to get shit done, then you need to hire a manager. The attributes that person possesses or has is leadership skills, right? Like, and
Yeah.
that shouldn't necessarily be in the job title, because then they get lost with, like, I'm just gonna keep like leading the way, and it's like, you got to get on with the fucking thing, man. Like,
Yeah.
like,
You've got to get
You've
this,
gotta get
as
it
you say,
done.
get the shit done.
Yeah.
And if you're not strong enough as a leader to actually tell that to your team so that
Yeah.
they can deliver, then something to
and
consider.
one of the I saw this in my corporate days is like managers, they fall over a lot because they don't care about the others, they care about themselves. And so that's not good leadership, because they're just worried about how am I to get my pay rise and what does that look like for me, and then they don't give the hard truths. And I think that's weak. Like, like as a leadership group, like if you're in a corporate or in any business, you want to be told by your managers what the heck's going on, not told like the nice stuff, because it's too late. Like, it happens in corporate all the time. And so I
good
think you got to
leaders
just
wouldn't shelter the bad stories, right?
you just get on, you just sort it out. Like, it's like, hey, I've had this issue, and I've coached this person through, and blah blah blah. But I suppose like it's kind of it's a big thing now. Like 12 years ago, it wasn't a big thing. I don't think, maybe.
The personal development of leaders is an interesting one, because I think for business owners, they get into business and they by accident have to become leaders and managers. So they're learning on the job mostly. So where do they get their personal development from? They probably get it from their peers, their friends, or just experience from their family, as we've sort of alluded to. But it must be pretty scary, when you're bringing on new employees to be this leader, because they, by accident, they've fallen into it and now they've got to deal with it,
Yeah. You often see people and they say, oh, that person was born to be a leader, or that person was born to be a manager. It's total bullshit. They've just done something in the past life that has given them some experience in that area, and they've just become good at it, So anyone can be anything.
That's right.
So a good analogy would be, and because we watch a lot of sport, and we love our sport, but the leaders that come through in sporting teams, the captain of the All Blacks or the captain of the Black Caps, were they born leaders? No, I don't think so. But they've learned from being around people over their careers as a sports person and turned into this leader and a leader.
That's right. I saw a great video, and it's a little sports. I think it's one of the All Blacks. I can't remember the name, but he's a player, right? His debut. Must have thrown a shit pass to the captain, who's the leader. But typically the captain, like, so he threw the pass. Obviously, the captain dropped it, and then they turned the ball over. But he understands. So this is the captain, the leader. He understands what that would have done to him on debut. So he walks over to him and goes, "Mate, I should have caught that ball." Even though, and then later, so then he caught the ball. So this guy has gone away and had a great game after that, because he's like, oh, this guy's in behind me. And then he's come off the field, and this is what makes him a better leader is, hey, mate, I just covered your ass there. Next time you throw the ball properly.
But
like,
you got
Aiden,
what he needed to get the job
He just
done.
got the fucking so good. I
But
saw
you
the
could have
video, I was
flipped
like,
out,
that's
right?
it.
In the other way. Yeah.
So like a lot, and you see this a lot. Like we see it heaps with even those people that we coach. Where it's like they would have just said, "Oh, it's a terrible pass."
Yeah.
Like sort it out. Like that pressure's no good, man. Like not to millennials and Gen Zs anymore. You can't do that.
Yeah, you talk
or
about
anybody, really, no one
self-awareness,
likes
right?
it.
But I think what's more important is self-regulation. How do you regulate yourself from flipping out? Because there are times in business where you just want to,
Oh yeah,
you know, you know, but you just got to be a leader and
time
be
and
like,
place,
look,
right?
sit back, you know,
Yeah.
be a better person and be like, look, how can I help that person grow and help them grow with you in your business,
Yeah,
right?
So-
There are frustrating times for sure.
Sometimes you have to walk away.
Mm.
You know, even as
Mm.
as a father now, you know, you get wound up by your kids all of the time. You know,
Mm.
but sometimes you just got to walk out. You know, take
Yeah.
5 and then just like gather your thoughts and then come back.
How do you do that? Fucking
Yeah.
teach me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
No, I just
So-
crack in.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's tough. It is tough. And don't get me wrong, I flip out. You know,
I've seen it. Can we discuss this concept of leading by example? So we've kind of been talking about managers and leaders and whatnot. We've talked about leading by example. What do you have to do to lead by example? It's easy to say, "Oh, I just lead by example," or that person leads by example. But if you're the type of person who leads by example or thinks that's the way to show your people, how do you learn? How do you get your continuous learning and your personal growth?
Talking about leading by example is when I was younger, my second boss actually told me, he asked me in this performance review, are you a good leader? Rate yourself out of 5, right?
Mm.
And I rated
Oh, wow.
myself 1 because I was still a junior. I was still an
Yeah.
intermediate. I
Mm.
don't know anything better. And he asked me, Elsa, why did you rate yourself 1 out of 5? I said, I've never managed anyone. I'm just doing my own work. And he saw me right there and he told me, mate, leading is not just about managing other people. Leading is leading by example. You come to work on time, you do good work, you're proactive in solving all the client problems, you dress nice, you know, and you're presentable at work. That is leadership. So it is as simple as that. And
Mm.
for the younger people or the junior people watching this, don't limit yourself to leadership with just managing other people. It is beyond that. How do you be a better person? Do you, are you nice to your family and friends and things like that? Do you stay true to your word? Yeah, all these small things really count.
So you can have people who are new to a business and not in a leadership role, not in a manager role, injecting themselves into a business, and they could change the entire,
Mm.
the whole thing of a company if you just had one new person come in and just bump the standard
Mm.
Yeah.
and just lead by example on everything.
Yes.
Mhm.
Be awesome.
I think so. He's a legend. Who that guy is? Because yeah, hats off to him. That's good
Yeah.
leader. He's
Yeah.
created a great leader out of you too. But you're like, it doesn't need. Even if you're at work, right? Like you can lead by sitting and look sideways, you know. And so like, yeah, my most favorite word at the moment is this abundance mentality, right? So it's like, why don't you just share your knowledge and help each other out? And it just feels like there's room for everything and everyone like to buy into that. And I think that you don't need to be in any hierarchy. Like you don't need to be up the chain. You can be at the bottom, like you were a junior or grade, whatever it was, and still be a great leader because others will inspire, like especially senior people.
Right.
They'll go, oh shit, I better watch out because, you know, so-and-so's doing X, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's hard, like obviously at a young age, you're like, until someone tells you,
Mm.
so then you need a good leader to be like, "Right, you're our good leader, or you need to do these things to become a good leader. But yeah, hats off to him. Like I think that's
Totally.
Yeah, and I took it with me for
people
life,
need to
really.
do that more,
Yeah.
and share their mentality, you know.
But I think business owners and even with our own team, we've got to encourage our own team members to get out there and get stuck in and try things and be curious, you know, because and by being a leader, by getting them to actually get out there and try it, like hold a meeting on their own, they're going to grow personally as well.
Yeah.
So I think having the trust and the courage to give that to our team members is amazing, you know, and they will grow because of that. And I think that creates a good leader.
And just let them make the mistake sometime and don't flip out.
Totally.
Have some regulation around yourself. They might send a wrong email. Imagine going over there and blasting that person. They'll never send another email again.
Oh,
Right?
Not
So
without being
it's
scared.
you got to understand, like, put yourself in their shoes. Like,
Yeah.
you're once a junior, you make mistakes. It's not intentional.
Yeah, but I think as a leader, you need to say that I've made these mistakes myself.
Mhm.
And the only way that you're going to learn and to grow as a person is to go out there and make those mistakes. Don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah.
You know, because I think a lot of team members are afraid of failure.
I think that's a word, afraid. Yeah, a lot of leaders or even bad managers create such a toxic environment where people are afraid of them, right? And when you're scared of someone, you never learn of them. And if you never voice out if you make a mistake and you just try to hide it up. And the things get bigger and bigger, and one time it just blows up and everyone blows up, right? So I think having the right environment at work is quite important if you want to have a positive leadership culture.
Yes.
I want to touch on something you said, which was to be curious. You're
Mm.
talking about continuous learning here,
Mm.
right? So for someone to learn, they naturally have to be curious, I think.
Yes.
Otherwise, you just get on with your day,
Mm.
get on with your week, get on with your month. Before you know it, it's Christmas, the year's gone.
Yes.
So being curious, I think, is a value or a trait that's really important for someone who's looking to be a better leader.
Yes.
If you're not naturally curious and you are a business leader, you need to find it from fucking somewhere.
Yeah.
And then if you're not curious, then I would say put in a framework to learn.
Yes.
And by framework, I mean not just where it's going to come from, but what day you're going to go and learn, by how long you're going to learn, who you're going to learn from, where you're going to learn from. But you actually have to put in a framework if you're not naturally curious. 'Cause we see it every day.
As leaders, where do we go to get that information to personally grow?
Could I just touch on your thing before you go on to that? I think the framework, so we need to just give it simple. Like I would just go one question every day to yourself.
Yep.
And it's like that self-awareness is, why is that thing like that? That's all you have to ask every time. Just keep doing that, and that will.
But that's curiosity.
That's
right?
curiosity, right?
Yes.
But then that's your framework. So like,
What if you're not curious?
But that's what I'm saying. Just ask the question. So I've just given you the framework. It's like if I say, why is this cup black? Just start asking the same question over and over again. That's your framework. Like it's got to be that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or have I learned something new today that I can use?
That's right. Yeah. But it's got to be the same question, and you do it on repeat. It becomes a habit, and then all of a sudden you'll start asking yourself more questions.
About bigger matters.
That's right. Like
I remember you told me one of the reasons why you've got better and better at hospitality is that you're just naturally curious. You like drive down a random street and you're like, why are those shops like that?
Yeah.
Or why is that one empty? Why is that one working and that one not?
I think he just likes food, mate.
Yeah.
And that too.
yeah, it's true though. Like
It is.
that curiosity. I think like I driving down Mount Eden Road, new Thai restaurant. Like you wouldn't even have noticed it, but I knew it was new, but they've made one small change, and all they did is put a fire out the front.
Yep.
Like all of a sudden it's like bang, everyone's looking at the fire, and they're like,
wow.
Thai restaurant. Like
It's great.
that's curiosity and going. Like that's a great leader. Like I think that's a smart business person. You know, like shit. How do I get people's
Someone probably
attention?
told him to do that.
Yeah,
You don't know.
Well, whoever told him to do
someone
that.
just
Like,
grew up
Yeah.
learning, right?
Yeah.
Like, I guess it's just my personal characteristic.
Yeah.
But I told my, anyone I mentor, it's like, look, you got to ask the same question.
Yeah.
Walk into a milk tea shop like Gongcha, like why they're successful and three others are not doing as well. What are the marketing strategies? What the pricing is like? What sort of deals are they doing? And start asking yourself these questions. You don't have to be a business owner to ask these things. And you start asking, how do I make money? All right, that's the first question. What are other business models out there? And you start doing more research. And some people are naturally, they love it. Some people hate it. But, just go with the flow. Don't beat yourself up. You don't know. Yeah.
And you were saying something before?
I was just asking, like, so where do we go as leaders to personally grow or personally develop? And you said Facebook, and you might laugh at that.
Oh, it's a bit of a joke, but it's like I consume a lot of content through Instagram, and I don't follow a whole bunch of random shit. Like I don't follow sports pages. I don't follow girls pages and car pages. I don't follow all that shit. Naturally, you'd think, oh, like Mail's got all these things. I don't follow all that. All I have is all these business owners and leaders in the UK and London and France and Australia, and I'm just consuming like the knowledge they're sharing. That's all I'm doing. That's kind of what we're doing here. And I'm just like little itty bitty bits every day, like literally 60-second. Oh, I learned that. Great.
I think you got to be careful. I mean, I think that's great. Like, it's a great way to do it. But I think people who want to do that need to be careful about that because you need to have your own, like, you need to put a bloody lens over it and go, do I believe that or do I not?
Totally.
You can take it.
Otherwise
You
it's
can
just full
take
of
it out of
shit.
context
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Like I've
10-second reel.
100% unfollowed stuff that where I've like started following it, and then I'm like, this is just not me. And then you just unfollow and get rid of it. But you got to be strong enough. Like, I could just be following a whole bunch of people, and all of a sudden become this weird mishmash of a leader. No one would understand me.
No, that's
Yeah.
But I think that's the cool thing about this time, right? Like, it's just out there. Like, all of the stuff's getting hit. It's thrown at you, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really have to go looking that far. You just
no.
like one page on Instagram and you'll get the whole lot.
Yeah.
Like,
30 years ago, what do? There's no smartphones.
Encyclopedia.
Go to read. Yeah, I think Obama said when he was president, he would dedicate 1 hour a day just for reading.
Yes.
right? And that's a habit he's built since he was a lawyer and practicing.
And I still think that that's a great habit.
Yes.
You know, you can
Yeah.
get too consumed in social media. I mean, I get a lot of my personal growth information, funnily enough, through LinkedIn, through the people that I find follow on LinkedIn. And you can read some really powerful articles, and you're just constantly learning. And you can go down a little bit of a rabbit hole every so often, but you can bring yourself in. But the people that you follow, you know, some of that information, especially in our industry that we're in, you know, is powerful. You know, so that's all of my, not all of my learning. Like I do read a bit as well. I could read more, but I think a lot of the information that I get for my learning from LinkedIn right now.
Yeah,
I tell
that's
you a
awesome.
negative side to my the way I've learnt a lot through Instagram and stuff now is my ability to read for long periods of time is completely diminished. There's something that happens to your brain when you consume like quite sizable chunks of information in a short space of time by video, and your ears are working and your eyes are just watching video on a screen, and you consume it. But now I go to a book and I'm bored within 3 pages.
Yeah,
you know,
is that a good thing?
it's really not.
It's
right?
an addiction, eh?
You,
Yeah,
you wanna be able to have everything working.
It's kind of like
so-
living life in the fast lane, though. Right? Everything's fast. Even if people watching this podcast, they'll crank it up to 1.5. You're just trying to get through, like to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. Whereas reading a book is like, it's gonna have a bit of space, you know, a bit of mindfulness.
down.
Sit down,
Do you
read a
read?
book. Only business books, like,
Yeah.
and not as much as I want to, but
Yes.
yeah, I'd love to read more.
Yeah.
I don't love reading, by the way. Like, it's the worst thing for me.
Yeah, I'm a fits and starts sort of guy. You know, I'll go through a stage where I'll read every single night. You know,
Right.
but now I'm just in a lull where I'm not reading. And
Yeah.
I've still got the same book open on my Kindle. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like I don't get to it.
I honestly
Frustrating.
I can't finish books. I just can't.
Mm.
I get to a point because I don't like reading anything that's fiction, and so I like to actually read books that I'm going to learn from, supposedly.
Yeah.
But once I've learned enough or I've got what I need, I kind of just that's enough. But I like books where a story's being told. So
Yep.
Richard Branson, like I like those books.
Yeah, bios.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Like Simon Sinek,
that's
Start with Why.
inspiring stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
inspiring stuff. So you got to find what works for you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same for everyone.
It's a personal choice for sure.
Yeah. So I think, well, let's just move to some bad things about constantly chasing this personal growth and continuous learning. Like I actually just shared one, like I'm like in this phase of just like consuming, like learn, mate, learn everything. And the negative thing for me is that I can't read very, very well anymore in terms of for long periods of time. So what are some bad things that can come from chasing this infinite personal growth chart?
Like, I think there's nothing wrong with learning, and I think you can't learn it. Like, you just got to keep learning, right? I think if your expectations are too high and you're trying to aim for something in particular, you can let yourself down and be like, I'm a shit leader, like, or I'm just not learning what like. So if you set the bar too high, I think that can have quite an impact, especially if you're in the fast lane. You're like trying to swallow it all in. It can actually speed you up quite a lot, and then you don't have that time to reflect.
That's the issue with the
chill.
world. People try to learn things do things too fast.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a shortcut.
Yeah.
Right? How do you make 10 million in 3
There's no
months?
shortcut. Yeah.
There's no shortcut.
That's
No,
right.
there's not.
And when you try to apply something that's just way too much pressure on your journey, and it generally takes about 10 years, right? You're going to shrink it down to 3 months. You're going to crack.
Yeah.
And either you crack or the people around you will see that, mate, you got to chill out a little bit. And the pressure will go on to them as well, like family and friends and your business partners. Yeah.
I think it's great that you've highlighted that as an issue for you, because I think everyone has similar issues to that. And I think the solution will be to have some time out, really just pull back, every so often, and don't be engrossed in your LinkedIn feed or your Instagram feed, People have time out, from their social media. I've never done it, but maybe it's time that I did give it a try. I'm not fully consumed by the likes of Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. It's more LinkedIn for us now, because we're on it at BetterCo, which is great. But I think maybe just having some time out, mate, might help.
Yeah. It's probably hard for the younger generations, like the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas.
So used to
I
it.
define
everything,
all of that. To me, it's just an addiction.
Mm.
Like, it's just like alcohol and cigarettes and all the vaping,
Yeah.
all the rubbish, right? Phone's just an addiction, right? You need to get rid of the.
But it's
bloody
funny,
thing.
like you call it an addiction, but for them it's a way of life. Like they've
Yeah,
grown up
but that's
around
that's
it
still
and-
an addiction, though, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't believe.
Tough topic, man.
Mm,
Yeah.
Well, it is a tough topic because
You ask them
imagine-
to put it down, right? You get it done the next time, and just one exercise, phone stack, and then watch the eyes where they keep going. It's sitting on the phone stack,
Yeah.
like
Watching
That's
for the
what-
notifications to come.
just
through.
not even. You can't even see it. They're
Yeah.
just like, I can't touch it.
Oh, it starts
Like-
from young, man. The iPad babies, right? You go to dinner and you see like big families of tables,
Mm.
and they'll just put a massive iPad, 2 iPads for the 2 kids. They'll just watch the parents eat in peace.
Yeah.
We've had an
Okay.
iPad at home for 8 months, okay? And it's just sat on the desk in our main area for 8 months. Zaya's got no idea what it is.
The minute she finds out,
But I can guarantee you, as soon as I turn it on
Mm.
and she sees that it actually lights up
Mm.
and videos can be played on it, she'll be all over it.
Someone plays Peppa Pig for the first time, and it's
Yeah.
all downhill.
Oh, man. It's a dopamine hit. It really
It
is,
is.
because our eldest Nika, she's on Kids Messenger now, and she's got a few friends that are on Kids Messenger, and she sees the notification. Can I see that, Daddy? And it's actually a good. I play with her a little bit around it, but it's like, yep, if you get this done, you get that done, you get this done, you can check your messages and you can reply.
but
So
that, I
it
mean,
is-
you're fostering a culture there, right? Like, because it's a reward thing. You can have this
Mm.
thing
Oh, yeah,
if you do
it
this.
totally
you know,
is.
like that's.
Yeah.
I mean, business owners should. That's what leaders should do, right? Even in your own business, you foster. You
But
give
how
them
do you- how do
reward
you-
and recognize.
I just want to come back to my question is that how do you prevent it going bad or it actually being a hindrance rather than being good?
Yeah, and I think it comes back to, and if you think about the business owners and their teams, if you're getting them to continue to grow, I think they still need to do their job first. So I think that needs to be top of
Yep.
mind. They've got a job description; they need to deliver that. And yes, over and above that, you can develop as a person. Where is your growth map? I think we're really good at BetterCo because we have our quarterly catch-ups, and every single team member has a growth map of where they need to get to. So you can actually highlight the areas that they need to focus on to develop. But I think first and foremost, do your job, and then look at the other areas where you can grow. And it depends on what stage of your life that you're in as well. Like the younger team members will need to train more, and they'll need to develop more from a more basic level. But the eventual leaders, they'll need to develop personal skills, the communication as well outside of their.
Yeah, and a good leader will find out what the strengths and weaknesses for the team members, right? And just work with that. And not everyone's the same, and just put a blanket approach to leadership and managing people.
How do you find the strengths and weaknesses?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we do it quite often called Gallup Strengths Finder. That's awesome. That's just one of the tools, really. There's so many psychological stuff out there that we can use. But it's just really getting to know who that person you're working with, what sort of management style you should adopt to fit their learning curve and how to grow them, take them to success as well. You can't just say, oh, this person doesn't kickstart things himself, and you just keep forcing things for him to kickstart it himself. Like, it just
you
doesn't
got to
work.
stop telling and directing. You got to start asking questions.
Yeah.
Like, if you just ask questions, you'll get to the bottom of whatever the problem is, or take them to somewhere further. Like, and I think that's a problem where it's like, can you do this for me? Like, hey, do you think you have some time this week to help me out? Like, it's such a different conversation. Like,
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, actually, I'm busy. Oh, okay, cool. Can I help you? Like, like you're just having a conversation. Like, rather than go, hey, man, sort this out. Tell me next week how you go. Like,
but I think that's again that strengths finder within BetterCo, and we're using it across all of our team. It is so powerful for personal growth as well. And you even look at it from a personal perspective. And which of your top 5? I'll ask you, Alistair. Which of your top 5 resonates to you to be a great leader?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've just recently done it. I was quite surprised. I thought I was an introvert, right? But my first one was actually positivity. I'm a very positive person. No surprises there. But one of them was woo. Woo meaning I love the breadth of network and things. And I really used that in the last 6 months to network more, go out to one-on-ones, and just trying to find out what really fits me as a leader and how I can replicate that to my team, to my clients, and to you guys as well. And I've just really found myself.
I think that's the important thing, like finding your own strengths
Yeah.
is really important. Like if you don't know yourself and you don't know what you're good at and bad at, it's incredibly hard to be a good leader. It's incredibly hard to learn because you got to find out if you're not good at reading or if you're not good at asking good questions. Like, you got to find out what are you good at in terms of how you learn. and then you got to find out what are your strengths, and how do you use that to be a better person and therefore a better leader, perhaps.
But so leadership is an outcome. I think like you can't go, I want to be a better leader. Like you can't set that goal. It's like I want to be a certain person in a certain way, and then it just all of a sudden you become this person that people look up to. Like, but you can't. I don't think you should be like. Otherwise, you're just going to be an arrogant leader. Like,
totally.
What are you? Like, it's like, I want to be a leader. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
hey,
what for?
like, how about you just, like you said, be a normal person. Like,
Yes.
have the abundance mentality, help some people out, and
Yeah. But
people
I think
start
it's good to
follow.
know going through the Strengths Finder in your top 5, right? To
Definitely.
find out what sort of leader you are.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, personally, you get to know yourself a whole lot.
Just like Nern says, self-awareness first, right? Then self-reflection, and then how to apply that to your daily life. I think a great leader starts with self-leadership.
Yeah.
If you can lead yourself into success.
Yeah.
If you have no control over your own oneself, how do people look up to you?
And I think you nailed it, because if you are so happy
point.
in what you do, guess where you end up? You want to give it back to others.
Correct.
Like you just get to this point where, like it's the end game. I've got an abundance mentality. I'm going to give it back to everybody now. Like, and I think that's leadership, isn't it? Like that's part
I've
of
seen the
those
opposite,
traits.
man. I've seen some very nasty managers that's so unhappy about their lives. They come into work, they blast on their juniors and delegate all the work and just say, hey, look, I'm your boss. You listen to me because I've got the high ego. And everybody leaves, right? Nobody wins. So like I say, it starts from yourself. Like if you're not happy about your own life, you got to fix that first.
Yeah, man, I think that's the goal right there. Find yourself. If you don't have purpose in your life,
Totally
I think
agree.
you struggle.
You just feel lost, right? And your team's going to be lost.
Yeah, if you're buzzing around and losing the plot as a leader, no one's got respect for you.
Yeah. And like looking at myself, I mean, recently I've gone through this whole health bender, right? Stop drinking, going to the gym, sauna 4 or 5 times a week, because I know I can't take stress. Like when stress gets a bit large, I go back into the shower and I act a little bit weird, like just like everyone does. I'm still human, right? But I know what my stresses are. So when the stress is high, I need to do many things to alleviate that stress.
You're speaking my language, buddy.
Yeah,
and so that I can regulate my temper within my team to be a better leader.
I have this saying, like, you have to look after number one before you look after anyone else. Like, and number one is vastly more important than the second person. Some people will disagree with me, but I believe that wholly in business, as being a dad, being a friend. If you have your shit together, you will just have positivity, less stress, and you can give back to more people. You'll make more money. Your cash flow will be better. I don't know what it is, but if you just look after yourself and then start from that as a position, as a foundational position, everything should be slightly better.
Yeah, and like what Justin said, be vulnerable. Like you say it all the time, and stop having your ego so high so that other people can actually help you. I think that's the first step. Yeah.
What are your strengths?
Yeah, so the two that I gravitate towards are individualization and communication.
Yeah,
those are the 2 big ones for me.
That's good ones.
So,
What's the first one mean?
So individualization means that I've got a good knowledge of different types of people,
right?
And I see the best out of people as well.
Yep.
So and I think that's very strong for me as a leader. That's very good. And communication's always been key for me. I'd rather if there's any issues, just go and talk to people and have a chat, face to face. That's what
I think people appreciate that, right, and respect that. It's like, actually, I am someone different. I'm not you. That's great. And it's like, actually, can we talk about it? It's like, oh, thank God, like it was doing my head in, not talking about it. So like, I think, that makes sense.
To identify that is massive. It really is. And for people to appreciate that they are different from everyone else is fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to go into this mold.
Yeah.
But I think, like you see it a lot, even with businesses I talk to, it's just a lack of communication sometimes. It's like, just talk about it. Like, you've got an issue, and then you just like, it just boils over, like,
the drip in the bottle.
The drip in the bottle, like, just can we just sort it out, like, today? Like, be nice.
Yeah, before
just get over
drips.
yourself. Like, And so now I think you nailed that. That's good.
What about yours, mate?
Mine will be command. So that's like my 4th one, and significance. So there's 2 that I lean on. The command thing is I'm ready to take charge. That's kind of the definition of that one. And then significance is like, I need an opportunity to do like important work. Yes. And I feel like people just gravitate to like, he's getting I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe they do. I don't know. But like those are the things that
Yeah, that's great.
I rely on. But those are like the influencing strengths.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you use to be a better leader.
Well, I don't know. Like those are the. If I was going to think about why someone would look up, what they would look up to, is like those maybe the two things.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've got significance in my top 10 as well. I think the one I like these strengths, we're talking about Gallup Strengths Finder here, like these words we're throwing around.
Look it up.
And
It's
not-
Well,
powerful.
shout out to
It's
Josh
powerful.
Cox from
Josh Cox,
Yellow
yeah.
Umbrella. See him.
And
Trust
don't
me.
do it on your own.
yeah,
totally.
these are not Oxford Dictionary words, right? These words have different meanings when you look at Gallup Strengths Finder. And sometimes if you look at Gallup Strengths Finder and you have a strength, like my number one and your number one is competition.
Mhm.
Now, that can be seen to be like, we just want to win. But if you look at a lot of the things that I believe in, like a higher level of work, a higher standard than everybody else,
Yes.
a certain level of excellence, like all of that is just competition. But it doesn't mean that we want to win. It just means that we always want to be better. And so as a leader, I lean on that a lot. But I'm not up there every day going, oh, we need to smash all the other accountants out of the park. Like, no, I've literally never said that.
Again, one of our values, standards, right?
Yeah. So again, understand yourself and what traits do you have that you can use the most. It's really difficult to be like, hey, I'm going to be this type of leader today and that one tomorrow and that one the next day. Like, it's easier if you just have one type of you rather than 3 or 4.
Totally.
Yeah, it's
I feel
interesting. I mean, like that's quite a good framework to be like, okay, self-awareness, right? It's just like that's what we're talking about here, self-awareness. We kind of can go, oh, yeah, we have these strengths, and that's what makes us a leader. Like, but it's we all just trying to be continuously improving every day, right? Like, I don't even know how some people get out of bed not wanting to learn. Like, I'm ready
Or
to
not
go.
wanting to be better
Yeah.
than yesterday.
Better never stops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I mean, don't say that lightly. But lots of people don't have a purpose. They don't even have a why. They don't even know why they get out of bed, and I think that's a real problem
You got to start there.
at the moment. And like that's where you
Yeah.
start.
I mean, let's just touch on this better never stops, okay? Because I think it is actually gets us in trouble sometimes with us. So we say better never stops. So we're constantly like, let's do this. And we're just like looking for this next best thing.
I
that
should
just,
look at
like,
the app that we have, man.
Like,
There's 20, 30 apps.
Like, sometimes you just got to stop because you can get burnt out. You can, people just need consistency for a while. And like leadership is not just about like pushing people to be better every day. I don't think that is just that. So we do that a lot. I do that a lot. In fact, I'm always asking people to be better. But sometimes you just got to leave that line flat for a while.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't need a bump.
Yes.
Not every month, not every day. And it took me a while to learn that, but in the amount of quarterly catch-ups that I did with our team before I realized that was a lot, like probably 50 to 100 quarterly catch-ups before someone said to me, oh man, I really just don't want to have any goals this quarter. And I was like, what? Like, that's not allowed.
Yeah. But that's okay
That's
as
okay.
well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you talk to business owners and you go, what are your growth aspirations for the next year? And some go, no, I'm just
I don't
happy
wanna
where
go.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm happy where I am. I've got a decent enough salary. I'm supporting my family, and that's fine as well. So yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think we need to reframe that better never stops or redefine it because I still think it's important, but yeah.
I love it every time I see it on our work. I see it because you don't see it all the time, right? Because these things when they become static on a piece of print or whatever, and it's always there. Like maybe we just need to move where it is so I can see it more. It just becomes part of the wallpaper. When I see it, I'm like I feel it, like I'm like, I go to the numbers and I'm like,
me and you are the same, I think, in that regard.
There's a competition.
no, like
This is like driving you guys.
I'm just like, does this person believe this shit? Let me go to page 2. Like,
But I think the better never stops. It can be only 1% better every day, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the next big shiny thing. The next piece of software that's going to improve our business.
You both of you need to just define each of those words separately and go better, never, and then stops. Like they're just real, like get in fucking words, Like if you actually look at them, and say, like I'm just gonna be better today, and I'm never gonna never is like never say never. Like whatever you can come up with all sorts of definitions on it.
Yeah, you can.
I think that's a good exercise to do, and maybe we should like one word that you think business owners need to have to be good leaders. You got a word?
Yeah, I do. I was just thinking about it as you asked the question. So mine is responsibility. I'm very high in responsibility. I don't give a shit what's going on. If
You're
it's
responsible.
something that I can do to help my people, that's me. I'm there. That's the thing I got to do. It's in my top strengths, responsibility.
Yes.
And my wife said to me this morning, in fact, she's like, man, you were up last night for a while. She's like, you've got this incredible ability to work when you're just so tired. And I'm like, someone's got to do it.
Well, you're responsible for 24 people, so
Yeah, so you got to do it.
Yeah.
like
So for me, it's responsibility.
business and strengths. Yeah, that's good.
I think for me, it's empathy, man. Like, if a good leader without empathy is just a dictator. Like Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you have a bit of empathy, you can actually resonate with your team members and just ask why they're the way they are in the issues.
Yeah.
And just come from another angle and be like, look, let's help that person and just get there, get to success. If you're just saying, look, no empathy, nah, don't cut that bullshit. You're just going to do what I say you do. You're just going to be a dictator and just burn them out.
Yeah.
So-
I think empathy is good. Like, people don't confuse it with sympathy either, right? Like, you can be empathetic, but you can also tell the truths,
Right.
you know? Like, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to be have a hard stance too. You know?
Yeah,
You can't just say,
definitely.
"Oh, it's all right. You're just late to
Nah.
work 5 times in a row." I understand your boss is always late. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
But
sympathetic,
from a
isn't
leader,
it?
you got to understand that that's not okay too.
Yeah, mine's similar to that. Mine's probably just to be human,
Yeah.
you know. And as a leader, and I've mentioned it before, and you brought it up again, but being vulnerable as a leader as well. You know, they won't disrespect you for being vulnerable and being human. So I
I
think
love that, man. I learned that off you. Honestly, in the last couple of years, you say that a lot, and I've been reflecting on myself to be more vulnerable, and it's been working.
It's powerful, but it's difficult for people to become vulnerable. It really is. I think we see it every day with the businesses that we act for, and even our team at times. But we've just got to keep encouraging.
Is there a limit? Like, can you be too vulnerable?
It's a good question.
Depends who you're talking to, yeah.
And it's like, I got challenged on this the other day, and I didn't have this thought, but my wife had this thought. She was watching the soccer, the girls, and she's like, they need to stop crying. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, and she's just like, that's why we got a bad rep as women, you know? Like, and I'm like, yeah, settle down. Like, it's quite a big, important thing. Like, you know,
it's a World Cup.
you know?
Yeah.
But she's like, yeah, but men don't cry. And I'm like,
Yeah, they do.
okay. But like,
cry.
I think what she was saying, and I was like, I'm just glad she said it, not me, but because she's a woman. But I was like trying to think about that, and I was like, oh, maybe they are too vulnerable, and they give themselves a reputation. So it's probably opening up a can of worms here, but I was surprised that she said it, and I was like, okay. So that's where that question comes from. Like, can you be too vulnerable and be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna feel it, like. But then, like, as someone like her who looks up to other women in World Cup, they're like, shit, like I'm not looking up to that. To some extent, like, like it's
That's really
it's
interesting.
different.
I mean, I think people that show their emotionals, their emotions, is a strength for me personally. Where other people may see it as, but I think
I think it's all about timing.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if I was coming to work on a Friday, I don't know, and dealing with something, and then I just couldn't handle it, and I just went and cried in the toilet. It's like, that's not leadership. It would have been better for me to maybe go take a breather, come back and deal with it, right? Like, so it's about timing of when you show your vulnerability and your emotions.
Oh, and that comes down to you as a leader as well.
Yeah.
And I like I like that if they cry on a sports field and it's a World Cup and they didn't make the semi-final, well, then it means something to them and they're feeling it and they're like, I screwed this up, like internally.
Yeah. See, I don't see that as being vulnerable myself.
Right.
Crying is not being vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's just human.
I think it's just perspective, right? Like, when she said that, I was like, I was deeply thinking about this a lot, because I'm like, quite a statement, you know? I'm like, but I think like leadership can mean lots of different things to lots of different people. And I think it's just awareness of that is, she's not wrong and neither are we. Like, it's just, maybe she wants to not see people cry, you know, like, because otherwise she wants to cry. I don't know what it is. Like, I didn't dig it. But
Arguably, these people that do cry on a sports field, men and women, are giving other people who are being pressured as teenagers and elite sports people, giving them the platform to be like, nah, it's okay if you fail to cry, because it means something to you. That's okay.
Awesome.
It's that human element.
Yeah.
But I think, like, World Cup, the Women's World Cup, like, they've shown quite a lot of good leadership, you know. There's been some bad ones too, like, there was that press conference. Who was that? Yeah.
The netball.
Oh, it was the netball. Oh, sorry. So I heard about it. I didn't see it. But like the one that particularly got me, I was sharing that with you, was the captain, and she was talking about like if anything, she just wanted young girls to watch this and just give it a go. Like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to cry watching that. Like I was like, this is amazing, you know.
And that's the thing, right? There's 11 people on a football field. In theory, there are 11 leaders for all of the little girls in this country, like the white ferns.
Yes.
That's what they were there to do.
Football
and it's
ferns.
football ferns, sorry. And the Matildas are the same. Like these 11 women who are on the field plus on the bench are all there representing everybody else. So they all have a leadership role. And I think they understand that, and they know the magnitude of what they're playing for.
They're an inspiration.
Yeah. And leaders should be inspiring others.
Yes.
Every day.
Yes.
Well, maybe not every day, but like.
It's a hard one, eh? Like, there's no answer. I think that's the key, right? Like, there's no answer to what a good leader looks like. It's up to you. Like, and I think, I think that's.
Let's wrap this up. So I think leaders, in summary of what we've talked about, I think they need to look after number one if they want to be good at self-development and personal development and continuous learning. They need to be curious, and if they're not curious, have some sort of framework to learn.
Yes.
But don't get burnt out. Don't be afraid. It was a good one that you had.
Yeah.
And self-awareness. So be human when you need to be human. Be vulnerable when you need to be vulnerable. And then how do you get the best out of your team is to make sure that they can do their job first. Justin said, do their job first, so you're not putting pressure on top of pressure.
Yeah.
And then have a roadmap for how they could learn or what they should learn to be better. And then as a leader, ask them lots of questions. What do you want to learn? How do you want to learn? When do you want to learn? Do you want to learn? And just let people make mistakes.
Yeah.
Big topic. No
answers.
No answer. Final answer or framework that you can follow. But it's like,
I've really enjoyed it. It's been great.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It's been great.
Yeah.
And it's just never ending.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Better never stop.
I love it.